I'm a fan of slice of life type stories. They have to try a lot harder than action, horror, comedy, or other genres that have immediate appeal to the audience. This first season sold me on the world that's being crafted here. Elves that are obsessed with the written word, over the spoken word, and raw trust, an oddly wise woodsman that exudes unpredictability and philosophical ideas, an adorable and funny Thunderbird who the city of Trollberg worships because of a past mistake, Nissa who hate each other and live in the unused space of people's homes. Everything just works so well together here, even though many of the ideas it uses originally come from separate sets of mythology. The main character is moderately stubborn, but in an endearing way that allows you to sympathize with her mistakes. Each episode brings some new idea to the table, but doesn't dwell on it, allowing more of this vast world to be explored, even sowing the seeds for future things to come. Today I'm going to be discovering what a world of simplistic depth and light-hearted slices of life has to offer. Hilda, Season 1. The art direction is top-notch. Every location is distinct from the last. Even every street corner in Trollberg has new things to offer. Each character is easily memorable with their standout personalities, voice acting, and mannerisms. The characters themselves are fantastic, with each of them having varying roles in the story, whether it's important or something more on the side. The world itself has this way of portraying itself as a constantly moving piece of nature, with us just viewing one singular person in this gigantic universe. Everyone has their own goals and aspirations without the need to involve themselves with the main character, Hilda. Relationships develop naturally, and the story doesn't need rigid scenes to suddenly make characters close out of the blue to make me engaged. With a few exceptions, I was able to understand and enjoy the characters as they were introduced without them intruding on the experience. Everything just contributes to a perfectly flowing world. The story structure is similar to episodic stories you would see with Adventure Time, Regular Show, or something of that like. The overall story progresses through mostly isolated events that help the characters grow or lead them into a future event. It's a fine way to set up a story, but I do feel these structures, while helping for long-running shows that have plots that adapt over time, it weakens any central narrative that the writers are going for. A lack of overall direction isn't something detrimental to a story by any means. Slice-of-life stories typically have aimless plots on the top level, but something almost seems missing here. The episodes are either contained stories or part of a 2 to 3 episode long story, which can either be great or sometimes they can be misses. I love the story with the elves at the beginning and the elves that lived in Trollberg, a fun plot to follow all the way through. Everything involving the woodsman is fantastic. He's easily one of the most fascinating characters in the series, with a unique personality that's complemented by his laid-back philosophies and mannerisms. I do think the story dragged when it started to focus on Frida, who's the one character I couldn't get behind. When she was introduced, she was a bit annoying with her obsession with perfectionism, but by the end of the episode I thought we'd be past that, but unfortunately not. The first season has Frida struggle with how perfectionism is tied to her identity and self-expression. Not a bad plot to start off with, however. The catalyst for her struggle is when she has to start cleaning her room, which for some reason doesn't allow her to work as hard as she used to. This is really dumb. But the point is that she isn't as perfect as she thought she was, which is fine. But when you take that away, she's kind of a nothing character. It's hard for me, the viewer, to relate to her at all because there isn't much to her character outside of what she's struggling to live without. The story portrays her as if she has more to her aside from her grades and perfectionism, but she really doesn't. On top of this, she ends up essentially backstabbing her friends later on with no real repercussions or resolution to her arc. She just ends up being a wasted character that has only left the impression of being just a bit annoying to me. But honestly, aside from her, I enjoyed all the other characters in their respective roles. I think the greatest strength of this story here really is the wide variety of interesting faces you see. There's the librarian that's secretly some kind of magic user or something, the woodsman with all his various antics he goes on. Hilda and her mom have a nice relationship that I never question the authenticity of. The journey isn't strong because of the story itself, but the characters that occupied it. Hilda is definitely worth your time if you haven't seen it already. If you enjoyed, check out the playlist for more videos like this one. Consider subscribing to see my analysis of other things in the future. I hope to see you next time.